You're watching The New Stack Makers, a podcast for people who develop, deploy, and manage at-scale software. For more information and articles about at-scale technologies, please visit thenewstack.io. Now enjoy the show.
Broadcom VMware Cloud Foundation is a private cloud platform with built-in Kubernetes runtime and self-service access to run apps built with both virtual machines and containers. Simplify infrastructure, reduce cost and complexity, and boost efficiency. One platform, one operating model for all workloads.
Hello everyone, we are here at KubeCon once again, and our topic is VKS vSphere Kubernetes Service. And I am joined by Himanshu Singh. Hi Himanshu, how are you?
Good to see you, Alex.
And Dilpreet Bindra.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to have you both here. I'm curious, how many years have you been coming to the KubeCon show?
You got that.
Yeah, I think probably 6 years, something like that. Yeah.
How's it different this year?
I think it was a lot more practitioners, like a contributor conference when I first showed up.
Yeah.
And it's gotten very, very large. It's got a lot of energy here, but it may have lost a little bit of what it had originally.
Yeah. I guess that happens, right?
Yeah. It happened with VMworld way back when too.
But you guys are pretty involved in the open source community.
Yes.
Through the CNCF. Has that changed a lot in the past 6 years?
No, absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, from a CNCF, I think the amount of change inside of Kubernetes early on was very, very large.
Yeah.
Right? And so we contributed a lot. In the original, Project Pacific days, back when we were doing 7.0, we did a lot of the contributions up for Cluster API, and then thereafter we pushed a lot of our downstream work that we had done upstream to be able to make sure cluster lifecycle was taken care of, and that was huge, right? I think we see some of those big things, but it's now it's like an AI and AI Conformance, which we just announced this week.
Right.
So there are aspects that are moving, but you see a broad-based stabilization of Kubernetes.
Right.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, Kubernetes has matured significantly, over the past 6 years or, roughly 10 years or so. And that's when you see it's more of optimizing, stabilizing kind of thing versus kind of big changes. It's kind of one of those where, Apple came out with iOS a long time ago, and then every release, it used to be massive changes. Now you see these smaller things that are more tweaks and all that, and that's kind of, I think, what I see in the Kubernetes ecosystem as well, especially with Kubernetes as a project, where it is all about stability. It's about kind of, and that's what you want. You want the technology to mature, you want the platform to mature, and then everybody is still going to keep building in a bunch of extensions to take things to the next level. And AI kind of is the new thing at this point in time.
That's interesting. That speaks into the ecosystem overall, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you could see the stability is allowing for a lot more, users and applications and enterprises to trust the technology, and I think that's been happening for some time now. It's not like just happening, but you're going to, our view is that you're going to see this trend move forward, where most of your application development is going to be done using Kubernetes in the future.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, for an enterprise, that's trying to just keep everything stable itself, it needs that kind of environment, doesn't it? I'm curious about some of the signals that gives you insight into the direction of the community.
Well, so I think if you look at Kubernetes in general, right? There's, I think, a few areas where as Kubernetes has matured, there's been a lot of focus on, and since Dilpreet was talking about Cluster API, for example, etcd is another big example of this. The idea of having a mature platform means that things like security, reliability, lifecycle management are kind of three things that really need a lot of focus as far as contributions are concerned, growth and evolution is concerned. And in fact, that's something that we as VMware by Broadcom have really taken to heart. So of course, as we're looking at contributions that we make into a variety of different projects, we've really focused on, as we go forward, on 3 main projects, in this case, with Cluster API, with CD, and with Harbor, to make sure that the focus is on security, reliability, and lifecycle management. And I think those are kind of the key areas that you'll see. And then I think as we get into kind of this convergence of Kubernetes and AI, and Dilpreet was talking about the new Kubernetes AI Conformance program that CNCF launched today, and we, as vSphere Kubernetes Service, VKS, is one of the first platforms to be conformant as part of this new standard. So we're very excited about some of the new things that are coming while the platform matures as well. So the previous thing.
Yeah, and we have a lot of Kubernetes developers internally. They do a lot of contributions upstream, as well as do a lot of work on our service. And so they keep up with a number of different happenings in the community. Like, for instance, we're tracking some of the resource management changes that are coming in Kubernetes with DRA and so on, and what does that mean with our overall resource management capability, and how does that augment or make our overall resource management with VKS much, much better. And so we've been a strong contributor in CNCF and in overall Kubernetes for quite some time now. I think we're top 3 if you look out, 5-10 years. I forget what the time frame was, but and we're looking to make sure we double down on that so that we can actually make the contributions that are critical, like Himanshu mentioned, right? And they're not critical just purely from the sense of hey, the Kubernetes community wants to go to this direction or that direction. They're critical from, a customer enterprise and an overall customer value perspective. That's where we really want to contribute, right?
And so tell me more about the Conformance and why you guys are participating and what it means for for the community.
So, from a Conformance perspective, I think it goes into the idea of portability. It goes into the idea of that reliability and the experience that the developer has, or even the platform team has, for that matter, right? So the CNCF Conformance program, or now they talk about certified, Kubernetes platform, by making sure that VKS, or vSphere Kubernetes Service, provides CNCF certified distribution, we're also making sure that anything else that is CNCF conformant as well can plug into that platform, right? So when it comes to VMware by Broadcom, the platform that we offer is actually called VMware Cloud Foundation, VCF, right? That's a full private cloud platform, end-to-end, and VKS is an integral piece of that, delivering the Kubernetes runtime for the private cloud. So anyone who's looking to be able to leverage VKS, it is able to now seamlessly be part of their existing ecosystem, whatever tools they're using from CNCF, for example, open source. As long as anything is conformant, it's very easy to bring those in to a VKS ecosystem, or bring VKS into that existing ecosystem. So that ensures that you can have a reliable and good experience as a customer, as a developer, as a platform engineer, and having the sense that I'm going to get my enterprise grade capabilities. I'm going to make sure that there's nothing that's going to break, and I'm going to make sure that I'm getting the best technology across my entire kind of footprint, with VKS.
Yeah, I think the portability angle is the key. One of the key reasons Kubernetes itself is very, very interesting is that it is a reliable substrate for the application across many different platforms that support it.
Right.
And you want to make sure, and I know there is different viewpoints on this from different vendors, but from our perspective, we want to make sure that part of portability is maintained using the CNCF Conformance as that driver for Kubernetes. I think that then comes into the AI space as well, and I think that's what the community is trying to do, is with all these various AI tools, there's a lot of mud muddiness
Yeah.
if you delve into AI with a lot of the tools and a lot of the libraries and how you bring all these things together. I think they're trying to do the same thing as they did with Kubernetes in the beginning, is to make sure that these things come in a sane way and can be, the applications that are written on top of these tools can be utilized in multiple different platforms.
So it's the conformance for instance, third-party tools within VKS, as an example, that you provide. You provide the ability for those tools, for VKS to conform essentially with those tools, and those tools to conform with VKS.
Yeah, well, so like in our view, like the CNCF conformant Kubernetes should mean that anything that is supporting Kubernetes should work in our VKS environment. And so so that's what conformance means. And so a lot of other folks are doing a lot of work on certification and getting, and I think that's counter to the way that the conformance was intended to be.
I see.
Right? Is that, hey, if I'm running on a cloud Kubernetes and I want to now take my application and port it to a private cloud, or vice versa, I should be able to take my application with little friction and bring it over to where it's best suited, right?
Which is why like conformance through CNCF drives that across the entire ecosystem versus a particular vendor kind of forcing their own conformance. Like, we don't want to do that as well. We want to make sure that, like, and we've done this with the community over time, just to make sure that, hey, there's a standard set by CNCF, and we want to make sure that we're conformant to that. We want to make sure that everybody who's contributing to that ecosystem is conformant to that. And again, to Dilpreet's point, this ensures a good experience and that portability if you're looking to move your application from one cloud to another, one platform to another, and you can still have a great experience.
Let's move on to the VMware Cloud Foundation, VCF overall, and how it's starting to really be focused on modern workloads. And I'm curious about how you're giving containers and VMs and containers equal footing essentially within that environment. And I'm curious what it went into the development of that. Like, what did that require?
So, and Himanshu, feel free to jump in. vSphere never had a self-service mechanism, and what ended up happening is that a number of different companies, including ourselves, were creating another layer of abstraction on top of vSphere to be able to deliver the set of APIs that an end user could use. Mm-hmm. And what that translation then meant that the full capabilities of the underlying vSphere or VCF cloud weren't able to be realized by the end user. You would always have this translation happening, this catch-up happening. This happened with our own products, VRA and VCD, right? Mm-hmm. The actual API you were actually using with VRA and VCD would never catch up with the underlying platform. So what we did was we went back and said, hey, we really need a underlying API that works against the IaaS directly, not indirectly. Mm-hmm. And so we created, and when we looked at it and said, Kubernetes has this brilliant mechanism using CRDs to be able to describe these various types of objects. And so we said, okay, well, why don't we leverage that? In going through that process, we came up with essentially a wrapper around our underlying objects so that we could actually have a Kubernetes API for each one of those objects.
I see.
Right? So like our VM is now wrapped with this Kubernetes desired state API that describes the entire VM using a YAML. And we call this VM service, and it drives that self-service mechanism, but it's directly tied to the underlying platform. So if the platform changes, VM service changes, and so there's no translation. Right? And so we architected it well from the foundation rather than building another layer of abstraction. Now, if you look forward, we augmented VRA and VCD and brought them together to become our single cloud consumption experience. And what we have down below in our underlying IaaS is that we take that Kubernetes API and extend it all the way out to the cloud experience with a multi-tenanted cloud experience up at the top. And so now the end user gets exactly the same experience as they would on the underlying platform, right?
So tell me how that makes the service more declarative.
Everything is a YAML document. All your objects. So let me give you a more specific example of how this is powerful. So recently we did Argo CD enablement. And instead of enabling Argo CD on our individual Kubernetes clusters, like anybody else could do, we enabled it at our foundational Kubernetes layer that delivers the IaaS. We call it a supervisor. And by enabling it, Argo CD there, now you can do the same GitOps style continuous delivery, but with your VM service, your Kubernetes service, your pod service, all of the objects that the IaaS provides, your persistent volumes, you can now do that directly with Argo CD, right?
Okay, so that then provides a single platform then?
Yes.
And that's kind of our overall story, to make sure that you're able to standardize on the one platform, on VCF, right? While you're able to consume a whole variety of objects in order to build your application. And so, you're able to standardize, and so you get the benefits of, the operational experience, the consistency that you get with that, while you still have the flexibility to be able to consume any type of object, any third-party component that might be a conformant component, for example, and you still have the same experience no matter what you're consuming and also no matter where you're deploying, right? So you can have your private cloud experience on your on-prem data center, within a hyperscaler environment, at the edge, and still be able to have the same seamless, consistent operations.
So
experience.
now all of our cloud consumption is, for everything the end user touches, is a Kubernetes API, a Kubernetes CLI,
so
and
that's
a UI
how,
built on top of that.
So that's how Kubernetes integrates into VCF.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we use Kubernetes to orchestrate Kubernetes. So our supervisor then actually orchestrates the creation of a VKS cluster using a VKS CRD.
By the way, just to add on this, we talked about kind of the YAML and being declarative. At the same time, there are folks who are coming in from an IT admin background or a cloud admin background, and when they're trying to, let's say, set up a Kubernetes cluster, you can actually have a nice UI-based experience, which you might be more comfortable with than doing a declarative YAML programming. So for the platform engineer, you got YAML, you can just do it. You do that, and then you have like a portable code that you can go and deploy somewhere else. So that also makes sure that you have standardization across your environment. But then if you're coming in more from the kind of the admin side of things, and you're like, I'm not the YAML expert, but I'm fine if you give me a UI. We have that for you. So you're able to consume it, whether you want to leverage APIs or the YAML or a UI as well. So that makes sure that you can get the thing done no matter what your comfort level is.
So for the end user, let's say like they're an engineer, for instance, is using, every customer is going to be using different open source tools, right?
Yeah.
Can they integrate whatever they wish then into VCF?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As long as you're talking about CNCF conformant components and tools.
CNCF conformant.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
right? So
and we actually recently, in our most recent release of VKS, we added a whole add-on management system that allows you, from our multi-cluster management capability, we call it VKS management now, you can actually manage the underlying add-ons for every one of your VKS clusters individually. So it goes along with that vein, is not only the ones that we pre-package, but the ones that they want to bring from a third party, they're all available to them.
I get it. Okay. So let's look at some of the technical focus on like reliability and performance, and I would love to hear about how these integrations and you balance that with the performance that you're providing. What have you done to increase the performance, and how does that change it from where it is now, where it was a year ago?
That's a great question. all of our performance comes from our foundational capabilities inside of VCF. Like, we're not doing anything special inside of our Kubernetes to make it we're just leveraging the underlying capabilities. And so, the thing that is different is that we're leveraging more of the underlying platform to be able to deliver that performance now.
What are you leveraging?
There's performance studies I can't talk about, but like, for instance, using our underlying vSAN capability, we see a dramatic improvement in our overall performance on certain benchmarks compared to like Kubernetes either virtualized or running on bare metal.
Okay, I get it.
Dramatic improvement.
Okay.
Right? And that's not because we've done something dramatic on the Kubernetes side.
You're just leveraging.
But the leveraging of the brilliance of the underlying platform is what we're getting. On overall density, we've already had a quite a bit advantage on our overall density from a VM perspective. Now we're looking at the overall density when it comes to a Kubernetes perspective, in terms of the amount of pods you can run on a single environment with a fixed set of hardware compared to other Kubernetes clusters. And because we have like the underlying capabilities inside of our platform, we can leverage more of the hardware than other competitors can.
You're able to leverage more of the hardware than other competitors
Yes.
can. And that's because why again?
The foundation of ESX and the way that ESX works from a scheduling perspective gives us the ability to leverage more of the hardware without running into some of the gotchas that some
Is
of our
that due to the density, or how do you get that better scheduling?
Sorry. So one of the key things inside of ESX is overcommit. Right? We can run multiple workloads against a fixed amount of hardware. We can overcommit the underlying hardware, CPU and memory, and still get both the amount of capacity required to run the workload, but also run more than what, so therefore using more of the underlying hardware, right?
And in fact, we've published some studies on this in the space earlier. The most recent one, I believe, just came out like a week ago or so. Some ML perf, work that has been done, and we basically saw leveraging, for example, NVIDIA GPUs underlying with vGPUs. Performance-wise, we're looking at anywhere in the range of 99% to 102% compared to bare metal performance. So you get the same performance that you might get, like everything from the hardware with all the benefit that VCF as a platform kind of provides. So it just becomes that like absolutely kind of a no-brainer for the customer in terms of the value that they're able to get out of the platform.
Now, when you're thinking about that innovation, how does the participation in open source projects, the CNCF projects, play into that? Like, what are you looking for from those projects that you're participating in? How are you trying to then translate that into your own products?
Yeah, so when it comes, let's say we were to run into some bottleneck as we go through some of this analysis. Usually when it comes to resource management, we have written the book in a lot of ways, right, in resource management, especially in the virtualized space. And so the way we tie the Kubernetes runtime to our underlying resource management capabilities, we would then be able to leverage, upstream some of the capability that is required to tie those two better together, right? And so that's what we would probably be looking at most, and that's where some of the DRA example comes in.
Okay. So what are some of your favorite projects? I mean, you guys have been, on supporting several. I mean, I think of Harbor in particular. I mean, I first ran across Harbor at KubeCon Shanghai. I can't remember what year that was. I think it was before COVID.
Yeah.
But there's Harbor that you guys are a part of, Cluster API, Contour, etcd, Containerd.
Yep.
How do you guys choose projects? How are you I guess you must be looking at demand and what your customers are saying.
we look at the foundations of the underlying platform too. Like for instance, etcd is probably the most important component in all of Kubernetes.
Yeah, I would say so.
Right, you cannot possibly be a distribution of Kubernetes and not have some contribution up to etcd or understand the operational complexities of running etcd. And we actually recently just open sourced all of our underlying tools that we were using to support etcd. We open sourced that this week. These are driven by our core contribution, but also a lot of knowledge of how etcd works in the field. And so we want to go further with etcd because I think there's a lot of contribution we have to do there to be able to get the reliability of etcd to be further enhanced. And that's going to be a focal point for us. CAPI is extremely important, and I know some distributions haven't completely gone there yet. I think they're working on it, but it is foundational. Like it's the only way we can actually get. We release a Kubernetes update of VKS within 2 months of upstream. The only reason we can do that is we stay very close to the upstream version in all of our orchestration as well. CAPI is at the heart of that. And that's what we want to continue to do, is to drive all of our LCM knowledge and value into CAPI so that we can further enhance it for the benefit of our customers.
So we've seen a lot of innovation in companies building open source programs.
Yeah.
Large cloud service providers, for instance, are playing a particularly big role in open source projects, and they've developed significant resources into their open source projects and their open source teams. And I'm not naming any names because I just want to be fair. But how do you want to evolve, like with your own open source programs? How do you want to be known as?
Yeah, that's a really good question. In my view, like we've actually evaluated this recently. So we actually went through an exercise of saying, what are all the CNCF projects that we want to play a direct role in?
Yeah.
And then what do we need to do to be able to either strengthen our role there, or actually double down or get a position there? And so we're actually hiring. We've set out a particular course of a certain amount of contributors we need to increase over the next few months, and we're already in the path of hiring a set of them, and so we're going to continue to grow in that space. That's really, again, it's not necessarily just open source for the sake of open source. A lot of people have done that. It's not us. It's really open source focused on a business outcome.
And that kind of goes to I think what we were talking about earlier was, from looking at Kubernetes ecosystem overall, we really want to focus on security, reliability, lifecycle management, which is exactly why, with Cluster API, with etcd and Harbor, like those three we're really doubling down on, to your question earlier, right? To make sure that we are, able to demonstrate like significant kind of contributions in this space and make sure that like those three things are the ones, because again, as Dilpreet said, foundational kind of capabilities. And of course, Harbor originated with VMware, but so we might have a bias there, but if you're using Artifactory, wonderful. It's still, you can use it with VKS, no problem.
Let me speak to Harbor a little bit. Harbor goes beyond Kubernetes a little, in our view. We have a lot of things to do from a content management standpoint to drive in our overall cloud offering. So we have a bunch of work that we've done to be able to deliver a content management capability so that end users can bring in their own images into our cloud, as well as into their private cloud, as well as be provided a set of images from the provider or their tenant administrators. So we've built this framework. Harbor is at the center of it because we view that this container registry could be far more expanded to other image types.
And that's what it is.
Yes.
It's a container registry.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for spending some time talking about what y'all are doing over at VMware Broadcom. I'm just very curious to see how you evolve all of this, as you dive deeper into building out your participation in the community. So thank you very much for coming by.
Thank you for having us. And if anyone's looking for more information about VKS, vmware.com/VKS is the place to go.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all the major social media platforms. You can always find us at thenewstack.io. We hope to see you soon.